People think Summer Musicfest in Telluride, I'm sure they probably think about the Bluegrass Music Festival, maybe the Blues and Brews Music Festival. But this is not blues, and it's not bluegrass.
No, it's not. It's classical music. It's mostly chamber music, which means small ensembles, trios, quartets, quintets, etc. Although we do have some solo piano works as well. But it's all classical music, and we're playing sort of like the greatest hits of all time, basically. Wonderful pieces on every program.
So would it be safe to say that if people come to some of the events during Musicfest, they'll recognize some of the music?
Oh, absolutely. We're not playing any far-out space music. We play only the most beautiful music, pieces that we love, that audiences love. And in fact, this year our theme is French. So we're doing Viva la France. We're doing a lot of French music, but mixing in some other works as well. It was Josh's idea to present chamber music the way it was meant to be heard in smaller venues, like a large living room, for instance. That's really what chamber, quote-unquote, chamber music is all about. Not playing it in these huge, theaters or even outdoor parks. The sound isn't the same because we're acoustic. We're not amplified. So you need to have a really good setting, a good acoustic for the music and the instruments to be heard really well and to speak really well. And the audiences love chamber music in particularly at the Maze Home where we do our concerts because it's large enough that we can accommodate quite a large group there, but it's so intimate and people see all the action up front, all the facial expressions of the artist, the passion, the intensity, the energy that goes into it. You can feel the floor vibrating too sometimes, so your senses are completely inundated with the sound of the music.
And so that's chamber music as it was meant to be played, as it was written, in some cases hundreds of years ago. And the audience has that connection of intimate connection and feel like they're actually part of it without speakers and monitors and microphones the way it was intended to be played.
Yes, our audiences always tell us that it's such a powerful experience, that it's really transporting for them. They just forget everything and they're completely in another world. And as other musicians, I have to say that is one of the things that I think we do really well at Musicfest. We get fantastic musicians here from all over the world, the tops in their field, and they are so passionate about what they do and so intense and so dedicated that intensity and love for the music really comes across, and it just hits home with our audience, and they enjoy it so much, and we enjoy playing for them so much.
Well, it shows in my limited exposure with the Musicfest. It really shows that the musicians love playing with each other, playing for the more intimate setting of a crowd. And I'm sure many of the musicians who've been here over the years have played concert halls of thousands and thousands of seats.
Oh, absolutely. They play in all the top venues across the world, Kennedy Center, Carnegie Hall, Suntory Hall in Tokyo, name it. We've played there. And but this is a way for us to do something a little different. It's a lot of fun. It's intimate for us too. And we eat dinners together every night, and we hang out together, and it's really fun that way. It's the way a festival should be, familial kind of feeling.
Sort of a summer camp in Telluride for these world caliber musicians. Well, let's talk about the musicians. You are a very accomplished musician. Who else will be coming to Telluride to play this year?
Well, as always, we have Trio Solisti, which is sort of the core resident ensemble of the festival. John Klebanoff on piano and Alexis Gerlach on cello will join me. Also, we have Adam Levine from the California area, but he lives in Seattle now. He's a pianist, and you'll be hearing from him later. We also have Wendy Sutter, cellist from Seattle. We have David Harding from Vancouver, Jesse Mills, violinist from New York, and Catherine Lockwood, also actually from Australia originally. She lives in New York now. She's a violist. So they're all returning artists. They're beloved by our audiences.
I'm sure if artists come here and they've never been, in some cases, to Colorado or certainly to Telluride, this part of Colorado, they like it. They want to come back.
Absolutely. They love it. The fresh air, the mountains, the beautiful setting, the whole feeling of our festival is something that everybody loves to return to. So we have many return artists.
Has there been a case where any of these musicians have come here and decided they didn't want to leave and they just moved here?
Not yet, but it could happen. You never know.
Well, tell us about the particulars, when the Musicfest is, how people can get tickets, where the venues will be.
Well, the venues are, as I mentioned, at the May Home, which is up at the mountain past Mountain Village. And you can get directions from our website, which is TellurideMusicFest.com. Now, you could call for information and tickets. You can call Warner Page, who is our administrator, and his number is 970-369-1351, if my memory serves me. Or you can also go to Telluride Music Fest and get more detailed information. TellurideMusicFest.com is the website. Yes.
And what are the dates of the performances?
Well, June 22nd, June 26th, June 30th, July 1st, and July 3rd are the concert dates, so the 5 concerts. And then we also have a movie night in which we'll be showing Playing for Real, a documentary film about young artists, including Adam Levine, one of our guest artists this year, showing how these young artists in their late teens, early 20s are breaking in and transitioning from, these sort of talented prodigies to young professionals, and the trials and tribulations of what that is like, breaking into a professional career in music, and the ups and downs, and little secrets, things that you wouldn't think would be really important, little things, but sometimes are tremendously important in the life of a young artist. So we'll be screening that movie on June 29th at the Telluride Library. All the concerts and the movie night is at 7:30 p.m. Everything starts at 7:30. And again, tickets you can get either through the website or calling Warner Page at 369-1351.
And if the past 8 years have been any indication, I would recommend that viewers get their tickets early, because when the tickets are gone, that's it. Don't hear about it the next day and think, oh, darn, I should have gone. That sounded amazing, because it will be amazing, the 5 performances and the film that will be shown.
Yes, we have quite a nice group of subscribers who subscribe to everything, and they just help support the festival in that way, too. And our theme, as I mentioned this year, Viva la France, is so exciting. I'm so incredibly just anticipating all these concerts. They're going to be great. We're playing a lot of the greatest French masterworks by Fauré, Chausson, Saint-Saëns, Dandy, many other composers, as well as some works by Bach, Dvorak, Aaron Copland, Leonard Bernstein, and sort of exploring how the French school really has crossed over to the United States, particularly through one of the most famous teachers of all time, Nadia Boulanger, who taught in Paris for many years, up until her 90s and until she died. She taught many of America's most famous composers, including Aaron Copland, even Quincy Jones, who you think of as, this pop and jazz person. She taught many of American composers, most important, influential composers. So we have a variety of works sort of exploring the French school of the composers, as well as their legacy, which came over to America.
Well, we're We're talking about Telluride Musicfest. This is coming up here in Telluride. This is the 9th annual, and we have a guest artist here, and it's Adam Levine. He's a pianist, originally from California. He's moved around a little bit, makes his home in Seattle now, and he's here in Telluride. Hello, Adam.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
It's good to meet you too, and thanks so much for being in Telluride. It's a great treat. And we were just speaking with Maria Bachman, and she told us about a film that you're a part of that's going to be shown during the Musicfest. Tell us a little bit about the film.
Well, the film is called Playing for Real. It was made by Josh Aronson, Maria's husband, and an incredible filmmaker who's known here in Telluride. The film was done when I was in my early 20s, and it's interesting. It's basically a retrospective on the life of young artists that are emerging into the classical music field and trying to get a foothold in the industry. And so it actually kind of is centered around this violinist, Mayuko Kamio. She was about 15 or 16 at the time, Japanese violinist. And myself, I was about 21 or 22. And we were at different stages. She was just coming into this organization called Young Concert Artists. And I was just exiting that organization. And Young Concert Artists is a New York-based, essentially artist management for young artists. And you win by auditioning, and you win this management, which is a very unusual formula. I don't know anything else like it in the world, actually. And it's fantastic because young artists, we struggle to get concerts, we struggle to become known, to create buzz. I mean, the publicity is not easy to achieve. It is sort of an exponential thing. Once there's some buzz, it can avalanche into real publicity, but you need that initial push. YCA provided that by essentially providing you with 30 to 40 concerts a year for several years at the very beginning of your career, and giving you connections. So it's an amazing film, actually, because you really get to see what it's like coming in, you know, having trained your whole life till that point to be the best you can be, and hopefully to be at the world-class level, to win the auditions, to have won competitions, and still struggling, and then having that organization behind you and being able to be propelled into the industry. I'm actually providing a little bit of a glimpse into the genesis of the style of music, this French school, because I'm going to be playing some solo piano music by Franz Liszt. Now, Franz Liszt was Hungarian, he wasn't French, but he made his home in Paris in the 1830s, which was an incredible time for Paris. It's such an incredibly creative time. And so many artists, painters, writers were living there. Liszt is really one of the people who, in a sense, polarized the music scene. And so individual, and such an eccentric and such an original mind. His music influenced literally everybody that came after him. And very much so in the case of the French composers. There's something about the language of Liszt that the French composers like Debussy, Ravel, Fauré, and others really found compelling and colorful. It's a sense of music being blended with imagery, an idea of programmatic music, music that has a story or a theme or a poem behind it, not just completely abstract, but this, you know, sort of interrelated cross-disciplinary thing going on. Franz Liszt's language was very different than anybody else. He, in a way, invented Impressionism before it was even Impressionism. He invented the idea of changing primary and secondary materials in the way that French Impressionist painters would reverse primary and secondary in the painting. You know, maybe the subject is no longer so important, but the environment is more important, things like that. And then, of course, we're exploring the great French masters, all of them, Debussy, Ravel, Fauré, Franck, who is a Belgian, but very much influenced by Wagner and the French school, Chausson, who was one of his pupils, Dandy, and the list goes on. We're really going through everybody, and you're going to see how French music developed and how it inspired others. As Maria said, there's going to be American music intertwined with this French music. The American music came later, and it came, you know, more at the beginning and second half of the 20th century. But the influence of French music on American music is apparent. Anybody who comes to this who's maybe not so familiar with classical music but loves jazz or blues or any of that, I think is going to find a real link to this music.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure audiences will not be let down. The 9th annual Telluride Music Fest. Adam, thank you so much for being in Telluride, and we look forward to seeing and hearing you play.